Now, we've been hearing a lot about 5G in the last few months.
It's being rolled out by the telecommunication giants without any testing.
You're going to have to put these things every 2 to 10 homes. So you're going to have a cell tower every 2 to 10 homes.
This is a serious problem for occupational health, public safety, and personal safety.
Is there a catch?
There is, just a small one. It might kill you.
Some quite interesting videos and information has been coming out about the potential negative effects of 5G on our bodies, on our minds, on our health, and on our abilities to be able to communicate, which is kind of a paradox because 5G is being touted and sold as a way that we can increase our download speeds, we can have instant connectivity, all the devices in our house, our fridge, Amazon Alexa, our cars will all be speaking to each other. We'll have driverless cars. We'll be able to download films in 1 minute instead of 5. We'll be able to do everything much faster. Some people say that we'll have 10 times the amount of speed in downloading and uploading and transmission. Other people even say it's higher. So there's a big race at the moment all over the world, from India to China to America to Europe, to install 5G and have it fully rolled out by the end of 2020. I would like to share that there's perhaps two sides to this phenomena of 5G. Let's start with a negative agenda, and then we can talk about the positive evolutionary effects that could possibly happen. The negative agenda would seem that 5G will lead to the full implementation of AI, artificial intelligence. So computers running everything through their algorithms and software and artificial intelligence programming, and that therefore then influencing us, making us less human, making us controlled by these programs or guided by these programs, or our free will choice being influenced by these AI programs. That may very well be the case. 5G also runs on a totally different system to 4G. 4G runs on these transmitting masts that are spread out every few miles. 5G will run on these millimeter wave high frequency boxes attached to trees and lampposts every 500 to 800 meters in every neighborhood. You could have one of these boxes outside of your house, outside the school, outside the hospital, wherever you go in the wired-in world, cities in particular. Millimeter waves are the same as high-frequency radar arrays, and these have been proven to have very negative and harmful effects on the human body, mind, and psyche. Millimeter waves have been used by the military in sonar warfare from the 1960s. And recently a British naval operator came out publicly and talked about the absolutely catastrophic effects that these millimeter waves will have on our bodies and on our minds as a form of warfare. Some of these effects can include digestive issues, brain fog, mental lethargy, laziness, skin rashes, increased susceptibility to cancer, and so on and so on. So there is a huge amount of evidence for 4G that this is already being very dangerous for our health. Now, with the new Wi-Fi standards coming in very shortly, shifting from 2.4 megahertz to 60, this frequency actually bonds with oxygen. So this new Wi-Fi standard is actually going to deplete or rob the oxygen within our bodies. This, of course, oxygen is a source of life, of breath, of prana. So if we don't have enough oxygen, we will not have enough energy. The basic functions in our body will not be able to work as effectively. We will feel a lot more tired, we'll get a lot more sick, we'll be a lot more susceptible to any and all forms of diseases. Our health will rapidly plummet. And essentially, without enough oxygen, we die. Oxygen is life, oxygen is breath, oxygen leads to the forming and sustaining of life. So 5G and the new Wi-Fi standards have these potential negative and harmful effects on us, and this has been widely shown. Now, let's talk about the evolutionary cusp that we are on as humans. "5G and 4G and the increased use of all digital devices is creating an electronic body around our electromagnetic fields. So this is kind of like a whole nother layer or sheath or body to us that is being rapidly formed and created and mutated onto the human body, form, auric field or electromagnetic field. This body, this electronic digital body, is parasitic or scavenging, i.e. it's not real, it's not organic, it's man-made and artificial. So what this is doing is actually feeding or coating our electromagnetic field and then scavenging that energy to create a whole new sheath or body around us. Now, if we look at all the different sacred traditions, like the Indian tradition, the ancient Egyptian tradition, and many other traditions, they talk of what they have observed over millennia. What they have observed is that we have 9 different bodies. This includes our physical body, our electromagnetic field, our soul, our sexual energy, our pranic energy, or oxygen, breath energy, and so on and so on. So there's 9 of these different bodies that have been observed by sages and meditators over the years. They have created vast systems in the Indian tradition, in the Tantric tradition, in the ancient Egyptian tradition, in the Kundalini Yoga tradition, and other traditions. But the most scientifically observed and elucidated systems have been in the previous traditions I mentioned, the Indian and Egyptian and Kundalini Yoga in particular. So we have these 9 bodies, and now there's a 10th body being formed and created as a kind of parasite or a symbiote or a scavenger of our other 9 bodies. So it's siphoning energy off that to create this whole new 10th body around us. And this 10th body, or the electronic digital body, is actually connecting also into the fields of Gaia, our planet herself. So all around Gaia, there is this new field being formed, this digital electronic field, made up of the hundreds of billions of transmissions and communication through Wi-Fi and the internet and cell phone signals, all of which have been working on 4G up until now. This has already created a field around the Earth. Now 5G is set to create a whole new field around the Earth, a much more powerful field than the 4G field that we have currently been experiencing and working with. So this 5G field will smother or cloak the planet in an even much more powerful, up to 10 times more powerful frequency and field than the previous 4G, which we're currently living in 2019. Now this has many effects, because we are electromagnetic fields around and within our bodies and cells naturally resonates and connects with the Earth electromagnetic fields. We are symbiotic with the Earth. We coexist with the Earth. We are interdependent with the Earth through our bodies and through our electromagnetic fields. Now, if this new field is being created through 5G, which is up to 10 times more powerful than 4G, and this field is around the Earth, what effect does that have on our own electromagnetic fields, our own abilities to communicate with Earth and with the resonance of Earth and the Schumann frequency, which keeps us in health and in balance and in positive connection with Gaia? When we lose connection with the Earth's fields, we automatically become ill and diseased. We automatically become more mental, you could say more patriarchal, because we have lost connection with the feminine, with the Earth, with the resonance of the Earth and how positive and life-affirming and fulfilling that is for us, both magnetically and electrically. So if this new field of 5G is creating a new field around the Earth, and that field is connecting to us, what effects will that have? Well, let's think about it for a moment. The Earth holds our memories. It holds a deep connection to our memories. So instantly our memories will be affected. Instantly our health will be affected. Instantly our sense of grounding in ourselves and in our bodies will be affected. Instantly our cells will be negatively irradiated by these frequencies. And these 5G frequencies are being beamed from space, as well as having land transmitters on telephone poles and trees and masts and poles along our streets. So there's up to 20,000 satellites are currently being launched through Elon Musk of SpaceX, through Jeff Bezos of Amazon, through NASA, and through a few other agencies. And these satellites are going up as we speak. They are being launched as we speak. And they're going to be orbiting the Earth and beaming down these 5G millimeter wave frequencies constantly and continually onto the Earth. This means that we will constantly be on the phone, even if we don't have a phone and even if we're not using the phone, because that frequency will be constantly bombarding us at all times. So returning back to the Earth connection, this new body around the Earth, this new body that is being developed around us, so both are happening around our body and around the Earth, has the potential to substitute our natural connection to Gaia and her resonance and frequency with this artificial frequency. So instead of naturally connecting to the Earth, we will instead be substituting that connection for this artificial connection to these artificial fields, which means we will lose more connection to the Earth's frequency and fields, which are life-sustaining, which we need on a basic and fundamental level to exist here. Cannot stress this enough. Many traditions, Aboriginals and Native Americans, Greenpeace, have been talking about how important our Earth connection is and how we have destroyed that over the last few hundred years because of the Industrial Revolution and now the Digital Revolution and the Electronic Revolution. We have been destroying the Earth because we are not connected to her. We have been destroying ourselves as a result of that, because we cannot live without the Earth. We are twinned, we are symbiotic, we are interdependent. We cannot exist without her physically and emotionally. So these are key facts that have been coming to our awareness over the last 30, 40 years. And now this is all going to go to a completely another level. So, bearing all of this in mind, that we can in the next few years be substituting our natural organic connection to Gaia with this artificial, inorganic, man-made connection, and creating this electronic digital body, this 10th body around us and within us, and connecting to this field around Gaia instead of Gaia. Where does this lead us? We are on a cusp of something that can change our future, that can change our destiny, that can change our evolution forever. So let's talk about the evolutionary aspects of this. Now, whenever we go through a big evolutionary change, we go through suffering. Because any of you who are watching this, who have gone through big changes in your life, there's usually pain and suffering involved. As we step up to the next level on our evolution, we have to leave certain things behind. And in that process, it's painful of letting go. It's painful to let go of people or places or jobs or events or traumas or emotions, painful emotions within us. But it's something we have to do in order to evolve. And this evolutionary change is always, almost always, painful. It can be done in a loving way when we're evolved enough to do it like that, but most of the time we have to go through some pain in order to evolve. And that pain can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be genetic, and it can be spiritual. So if we are on the cusp of an evolutionary change, you could say a mutation from one species to another, what does that look like? Where is it leading us? What will happen? Perhaps this 5G and AI effect is going to force us to evolve, to force us to mutate, both cellularly and genetically. Perhaps the effect of these frequencies will contract us. That seems to be self-evident from all the evidence and all the case studies and all the scientific and medical evidence being presented. These frequencies in this field will contract us. And in the process of being contracted, it's like the pressure being put on a piece of coal to become a diamond. So perhaps this pressure, this contraction that will happen in our bodies, in our cells, and probably in our DNA as well, will force our bodies to mutate, to adapt, to evolve, and bring out something latent or dormant within our DNA, within our cells. Now remember, over 90% of our DNA and over 90% of our brains are untapped and unused. We have 90% of our junk DNA that has not been tapped into, that is switched off, that is junk DNA. And the same with our brain. Scientists have not been able to work this out, but it seems highly evident that it serves a use because we've had it for millennia and we have not dissolved it, i.e., if over millennia nature finds something that is no longer useful, it dissolves or deletes that program or that code from that life form. But we still have this junk DNA, so it does serve a purpose, we just haven't fully activated it. Perhaps the enlightened beings in our past and in our present have activated some aspect of it. And there's an interesting film called Lucy, which depicts in graphic detail how that mutation can occur, where we start to use 20%, 30%, 40% of our brain capacity and our genetic capacity that's currently disconnected. So what effect will this evolutionary 5G bombardment of frequency have on us? Perhaps it will force ourselves to mutate and tap into these dormant potentials within us that have been lying there latent, unused, disconnected. Perhaps it will force us to do that. It will provide that pressure, that contraction. When we contract something, something is squeezed out. If you've gone through deep periods of grief, it feels like you're squeezing these tears, these emotions, these pains out of you. It's being squeezed out of your cells, out of your body, out of your soul even. So as we squeeze ourselves and contract ourselves, all the negative issues or the shit comes out of us in some way. If we put under pressure, what happens to us? Do we break or do we keep going? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. No pain, no gain. If we are contracted so deeply, we will be forced to find solutions. We will be forced to find answers, both consciously and subconsciously, physically and genetically. We will be forced to find and access something within us that we have not previously accessed before. And this is when the big jumps in evolution occur, the big jumps that are revolutionary. Revolution is the evolution. Evolution is a revolution. So perhaps we are being forced to find new answers in new ways than we have ever done before. Maybe these new ways will come through the younger generation, the millennials and the children, who are approaching things with a different mindset, who have already adapted much better to their technology than older people. And they've adapted mentally and physiologically a lot better because they've grown up with it since they were 4 or 5 years old. And since they were in their teens, they've been using the internet, the phone, and everything else in a much more advanced and faster way than older people, and they therefore much more understand how it all works on a much more intuitive level. Because when we learn something when we're young, we can then adapt with it and then be creative with it. And as humans, as mammals, we are born to adapt. We adapt to everything around us: people, frequencies, electronics, environments, languages, countries, relationships. We are built to adapt. So we can adapt to these new frequencies of 5G and other things that are coming in, for sure. And the process of adapting to it may be painful and may be deleterious. And some people will not be able to adapt to it because of their genetic makeup and because of how they are wired. And other people will be able to adapt because they are genetically disposed to that and they are physiologically capable of doing that. And there's no judgment in that. Just some people are wired like that and some people are not. So, how do we adapt to it? So 5G, if you feel you want to get out of town and you won't be able to adapt to these frequencies, then there are 4 or 5 different solutions for you. First one is to move out more into nature, where there are not the masts near you, where there are trees, and where there is ocean or strong sources of running water. This will help to disrupt the frequency, and this will help you to be more connected to the elements. So even just walking by the ocean or a river will be cleansing your field. Living by it will be even better. Bathing in it, even better. But nonetheless, the antioxidants that come when you walk by an ocean will be really useful to help disrupt this 5G field around you. And living in nature, living near trees, living away from the masts will also be really good. You'll still be getting it from the satellites above, but it'll be less. The second thing is using a material known as shungite. You can use that, wear that on your person. You can put that around your house. You can even put it on the roof of your house. And this helps to protect and shield yourself from the radiation. Perhaps the most powerful way to protect yourself against 5G radiation is to raise your own frequency. If your own frequency, your own vibration is higher, then you will be able to transcend most of these 5G effects, because simply you will not be at that frequency that the millimeter waves are at. You will be above those frequencies. Now this has to be done on all levels. Your consciousness, your emotions, and your physical. So your physical body has to be clear and resonating a higher frequency, and that is inextricably interconnected to your emotions. So you have to do your emotional healing and clear those traumas and clear those shocks in your nervous system and clear that pain, that fear, that sadness, that grief. Clear all that out. Then there's nothing for these frequencies to hook into. Then of course the beliefs that come with emotions as well. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm powerless. What will happen? I'm scared. You have to face and confront those fears. And there's many healing techniques and methodologies and therapies and good people out there in the world who can help support you so you can heal those within yourself. And then of course on the spiritual level, on the pure frequency level, sound, using sound to raise your vibration and even counteract these frequencies. Now there's mantras and songs that can do that, particularly in Sanskrit and Aramaic and probably other sacred languages as well, Tibetan for example. So there are mantras and chants that one can use to counteract these frequencies, and also most importantly to raise your own frequency, to rise your own frequency, to increase your vibration, to accelerate it. And this is actually the greatest protection. As Christ said, love is the only protection, i.e. when you are embodying more love, you don't need all these protective energies and devices and so on. However, very few people on this earth are resonating all the time at the pure frequency of love. Everyone experiences love at some point during the day. most days, but to resonate at the frequency of love all the time is something pretty rare on this earth that only a few people throughout history have mastered. But we can embody that, we can resonate more with love each and every day, and we can increase the amount of times and the amount of time that we're doing that throughout the day. So that's obviously the greatest protection. We can use other electromagnetic shielding devices in the meantime whilst we work our way up to this resonant frequency. We can use sound and mantras in the different modes of vibration, which I will share about another time, which is a book that I'm just completing writing called The Science of Sound, which is based on the Indian and Kabbalistic sciences of sound and vibration and how that operates and creates our reality and the universe, the sonic universe at large. So I'll share that in another video. But these are the four main ways we can work with 5G, raising our vibration through any and all means in all our bodies, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Doing the healing necessary, clearing those traumas and shocks in the nervous system, accelerating the frequency or vibration of our cells and physical bodies, clearing out the stuff that's in there on all levels. Shungite, nature, away from the 5G vibrations, water, strong running sources of water. Now, there is a fifth one, which is connected to our evolutionary adaptive capacity. And this fifth way of protecting ourselves or rising above the frequency of 5G is more accurate rather than protection, because protection also involves an element of fear. And fear, so we need to protect ourselves against anything, is because we're scared. We want to keep something out. I've got to protect myself against that because that's bad, that's negative, that's not good, so to speak. Well, that's in a total dualistic polarity mentality, which is based on fear and judgment anyway. All duality is based on fear and judgment. I'm good, you're bad. I'm right, you're wrong. That's bad, I've got to protect myself against it. That's a basis of fear right there. So, the fifth way to adapt and evolve and use the 5G as a way to accelerate your own evolution, to ignite these latent potentials within your brain and with your DNA, is that with this arrival of these technologies and the effects that it's going to have on our body, mind, soul systems, somebody, or maybe a lot of people, will start to come up with ways, new inventions, new technologies that will actually activate these latent potentials within us. Because we're being forced to. We have to do that. Whereas before we didn't have to. So it's like in wartime, World War I, World War II, the Cold War. That was the impetus to create new technologies to deal or increase your ability to wage war. But that has led to lots of other interesting advances in the field of science, in the field of medicine, in the field of, and the ways that that can be then applied to our general health, to our well-being, to our emotional and physical advancement, to our mental abilities, and so on. So in times of crisis like wars, or this evolutionary cusp that we're standing on right now in 2019 and 2020, these cusps provide us with an evolutionary impetus that was not there before. Now we have to do something. Now we have to create something. Now we have to invent something. Now we have to find a new way of doing things that previously we didn't even have to think about because we didn't have to do it. Now we have to do it. And I find this very interesting because this is the evolutionary edge. This is how we evolve. It's unfortunate in one sense, but it's a reality. In your own life also, look at your own life. We, you, me, everyone only takes big steps in our evolution when excuse my French, the shit hits the fan. When the shit hits the fan, we have to evolve. We have to find a way. We have to end that relationship. We have to end that job. We have to say no to things that we've been doing our whole life. We have to say yes to things and follow our passions that we've been putting off our whole life. We have to do something when we come to that edge. And we are on that edge now, my friends. And that edge is going to get sharper and tougher and more pronounced over the next few years as en masse humanity has to evolve, has to adapt, and has to do something new to balance and use this 5G as fuel for our own evolution. So in true Tantra, not the Neo-Tantra, but in the true Tantra of India and beyond, everything in our reality, in our relationships, in our life is used as fuel for our own evolution. And in the more profound forms of Tantra, you have to confront everything you fear and everything you don't want to face. And that then becomes your fuel for your evolution. It's like you eat your suffering and you grow and evolve from that. You're not a victim to your suffering, you eat it, you use it, you consume it, you allow it to ferment, to gestate, to be burned up within you. And then that stokes your inner fire, and that's what helps you rapidly evolve. This is why true Tantra is called the bullet path to enlightenment, because you have to use everything in your reality, which is a non-polarized duality, i.e. a unity reality, because we're not judging anything as good or bad. We're actually using everything that the mind would perceive or other people perceive as bad. We're not judging it, but we're using it for our own evolution. We're using it to become more humble. We're using it to become more self-responsible through the law of attraction, through the mirror. Everything that's happening to us is for our own evolution. Even if we don't particularly like it, even if it's not pleasant, even if it's not a happy situation, let's say, nonetheless, we use it, and we use it to evolve. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Can we use all these frequencies of 5G and everything that's coming with that to evolve ourselves, to go deeper into our humanity, to activate our dormant and latent potentials, our dormant creativity, our latent genius, our latent DNA, our junk DNA, to activate those different parts of the brain, to open ourselves up, to raise our frequency, to become all that we can be, to activate those highest potentials within us. This is a promise of 5G, and that is true Tantra. And this is a promise, the edge that we are now living on. So don't go into fear around it. If you need to work with these frequencies or protect yourself, I have laid out 5 easy ways for you to do that instantly. But all of this is happening for a reason. And yes, there is a negative agenda behind it, but that's happening for a reason too, in the whole unity consciousness that we are actually living in. It's just our minds that separates and judges the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. The actual reality of reality is that everything is here for us to evolve into unity, becoming totally whole in ourselves. That I am presence within us. That is who we are, and that is the evolutionary revolution, the edge and the cusp that we are now on with 5G and the electronic digital body that is here right now. Some people are already in it. Some people have already developed it. And some people are already addicted to it. The world's first digital addiction clinic was set up by the NHS in England because they fully recognized that 5G, 4G even, computers, internet, smartphones are highly addictive and have physiological symptoms, i.e. physical and emotional symptoms in the body. So this has already been established as scientific fact. So giving up our internet, our smartphone, our Wi-Fi, if we do that, most people will go through withdrawal symptoms similar to cocaine. Dr. Geronimos, a professor who set up this experiment, I think at the University of Reading a few years ago, commented that most people said when they were off it for 24 hours, i.e. no social media, no internet, no Wi-Fi, no phone, no digital devices at all, most of them felt they were going through cold turkey, they were going through withdrawal. And the similar effects were found in the body as it was when a person was stopping cocaine usage. So this digital electronic body has been proved as fact because it has physiological effects inside our body and we can get addicted to it. And already many millions of people are addicted to it. In fact, if we cut off all internet, all smartphones, all Wi-Fi, tomorrow there would be riots and chaos in the streets of every city on the planet. People would go nuts. People would go crazy. There would be murder, rape, chaos, looting, anarchy on the streets of every city, east and west, from London to Beijing, from Delhi to Washington. Everything would go off, so to speak. So we are already addicted to this, and this 10th electronic body is already being created. It's already here, and it's set to increase with 5G happening at the end of 2019 and 2020 on a lamppost and a tree near you. Remembering that this is an evolutionary step into non-duality, and remembering this is why we are here. What is the purpose of life? Is to be free. What is freedom? To not be in duality. It's a very simple equation. So we're all here to learn, we're all here to grow, and we're all here to transcend, our own selves actually, and our own fears, and our own negativities, our own ways of seeing what is bad and what is good, what we judge and what we don't judge. So 5G is said to be an evolutionary trigger and catalyst for us as a species and as individuals. So we're living at a very exciting time where we can evolutionary mutate into a new species. And this new species, or group of 4 different species, is coming. So humanity is no longer just Homo sapiens, one race. No, that's already diverging into sub-races. So we have the normal Homo sapiens. Then we're going to have this new race of Homo technologicus, which is people who have developed this electronic digital body, are fully happy with it, and have then gone the next level, which is implantables, having microchips put into their body, having cyber enhancements, digital, electronic, structural, mechanical, cyber enhancements in their bodies, in their nervous system, in their brain, to increase their capacities. I mean, why have Google Glasses when you can have a digital implant in your eye and you can look around and be scanning everything just like Terminator in the Terminator films or the Matrix movies or whatever it is? You can actually do that. That technology has been developed now. And why have a phone when you can have a chip in your arm? This has already been done in Iceland and Sweden and in Wisconsin in America, and probably China as well. We just don't know what the Chinese are doing because they don't tell anyone. But this chip is being, in Sweden, is now a bit of a current fad. They put a chip into, and people are volunteering to have these chips put into their wrists, because then you don't need a key. You just go up to the keypad on your house, open. Go up to the keypad in your office, open. Go to a shop, buy your groceries, put it over the barcode, open, all paid. Go and speak into the phone. That part hasn't been developed yet, but all these other aspects have. And it's only a matter of time before the phone is inside your wrist. That's not even like 5 years away. within 5 years, you'll be able to have that in your wrist. And of course, it's GPS enabled, so you'll be able to be tracked wherever you are. And your children, let's put the chip in my child, because then we can track him. If, God forbid, if he has a problem or an accident or there's an emergency, which is all fear-based thinking, right? We can track little Johnny when he's at school and when he's with his friends. And then we'll know wherever he is, and we'll feel safe and secure. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, this is a fear-based tactics that we're being subjected to. That is a part of the push to have these technologies come in. So Sweden, Iceland, America, China already have these technologies, and the chip is as big as a grain of rice at the moment that can do all these functions. I mean, when it comes to the phone size, then there's obviously it will get bigger, but the technology is already being developed for that. And that connects into our quantum computing capacities, which are also rapidly coming online, have already been established by non-governmental agencies, actually, in different parts of the world, which are kept very secret. But those quantum computers have already been developed and are already being used, where literally you sit down, plug into the internet, and think your way through the internet. That technology is already being developed and established by certain groups of people who are working outside the governmental spectrum. So they're working independent of government. So all of this is happening and more. And I'm writing about this in more depth and detail in my forthcoming book, The Science of Sound, the 4 Modes of Vibration. And so this form of code, 0 and 1, which the digital computer works on, which then forms the basis of our electronic body, is actually accentuating or accelerating the polarity or duality of ourselves, of this duality binary-based system. 0, 1, good, bad, right, wrong, black, white. That's the nature of the matrix. And this is what the electronic body that is being accelerated by 5G is activating or trying to activate more within us. And it depends how we use it. We can go more into duality, more away from our emotions, our magnetic feminine side, or we can use and adapt to this high data downloads and the frequencies of such, and use that to become more human, to be more integrated in our feminine, to be more connected to our minds and hearts, to activate the junk DNA and our latent genius held in our brains. We can do that, and there are ways to do that. And I've shared a few of those. So I do not feel any fear about this impending evolutionary mutation and revolutionary cycle that we're in as a species in 2019, 2020 and beyond. I feel excitement. I feel like we're entering into a space where humanity has never been before, and we can have trust and faith in ourselves that we will come up with the internal solutions and the external solutions to that. We are not dumb people. We have resources and mastery, imagination and creativity, genius and love beyond what we even know ourselves to have at the moment. And this evolutionary cusp will trigger and activate that within us in new and unknown ways, both subconsciously and within our physical bodies internally, and then externally in the solutions and the technologies and the new creative ways that we will find to deal and adapt, maybe nullify and neutralize this technology, and maybe create something even better than this technology, which could be something that will activate our own inner organic technologies, which is the ultimate technology in the universe. So we're using technology, these external ways, because they remind us, or a reflection of our inner consciousness, our inner potentials, our inner organic technology that is still not being fully activated. So all these powers within us, within our guts, our second brain, within our hearts, within our nervous system, within our brains, within our DNA, all this untapped potential we have. And that is why we keep on looking outside, because we're not looking deep enough within. So we have to create these external technologies to substitute or replicate our own internal technologies, So, for example, we are all naturally telepathic, but we have to use phones and this medium, of course, or video, to then spread our message. But actually within us lies the potential to have a much more powerful and instant communication with others just through thinking about it, by activating that part of the brain and by activating the emotions with that to send that message through a combined heart-mind connection. So all technology, all devices is here just as training wheels to remind us of who we are and to remind us of what our own natural inner organic technology actually is. And that is the greatest technology in the universe, without doubt. It is far better, far more advanced, far faster, and far more useful than any external technology that we can create at all. If we were even to activate 10% more of our brain and DNA, we would be telepathic. We would be able to move objects with our mind. We would be able to commune and create holograms with ourselves and with others, just by thinking about it. We don't need to create an external computer or device to create holograms, because we are holograms anyway. This whole universe is a hologram. We will be able to create those, and we have the capacity to do that. And we can create those naturally. That is our potential. And that is what some of the greatest, most enlightened beings throughout history have shown us. Christ Yeshua, Buddha, Padma, Krishna, Rumi, Shams, Pir Shams, and many others throughout history, in all walks of life, from all traditions, all colors, all creeds, all races, all religions, all non-religions, have demonstrated our full capacity. People call them enlightened. Well, we all have that capacity within us. And more people today are awakening to these inner capacities of clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, telepathy, intuition, knowing when someone's about to arrive, knowing what someone's going to say, knowing what's going to happen, having these feelings or precognitions, pre-sensing. All of these intuitive capacities are here within us, and more of us are accessing those more and more of the time. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we can also use this digital electronic body, this 5G revolution. We can also use that to activate these latent potentials within ourselves and to find solutions, internal and external, in order to be able to do that. And this is why we are here alive at this time, to witness this revolution, to take part, to engage, to participate in this revolution and this mutation that is occurring on a physiological, emotional, mental, physical, genetic, and neurobiological level. All of these parts of us have to mutate and change in order for us to evolve, in order to create a new species. And that is what is trying to happen. And it will happen in unexpected and new ways that we have not thought before. Normally evolution takes a long time, but now it's happening very fast, and we are mutating in new and different and exciting ways. So don't be scared. Enjoy these exciting times and get ready to unleash your full potential, your full creativity, and all the dormant mastery and genius and imagination that you have within us to step forward into the next step of your evolution and the entire evolution of humanity. Namaste.